Okay, hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss components of final expenditure on GDP, okay? Now, when we say final expenditure means expenditure made on goods and services and investment expenditure by various sectors like households, firms, government, and foreign sector in our economy, okay? I repeat again, under this final expenditure method, we measured final expenditure made on goods and services and on investment by various sectors like household, firms, government, and foreign sector, okay? Now, we will discuss the components of final expenditure on GDP. The first one we have private final consumption expenditure. This is also represented by C, okay? C for cat. Now, when we say private final consumption expenditure, it refers to expenditure made on goods and services by households and non-profit institutions like NGOs, human rights groups, churches, homes, old age homes, etc. Okay, either on durable goods or non-durable goods, etc. Okay, I repeat again. When we say private final consumption expenditure means the final expenditure made by households and non-profit institutions on goods and services. Okay, I hope that is clear, right? Okay, next point we have government final consumption expenditure. Government final consumption expenditure is also represented by G, okay? G for God. Now, when we say government final consumption expenditure, it means the final expenditure made by government in various areas, okay, in the field of health, education, defense, military, etc. I repeat again, when we say government final consumption expenditure means it is the final expenditure made by government on goods and services for the public. It can be in the field of education, health, military, defense, etc. Okay. Next is we have capital, gross fixed capital formation. Gross fixed capital formation. Under this gross fixed capital formation, all the three sectors, that is firms, household, and government, invest, or firms, household, and government spend on goods and services. Okay. Here we see that firms make an investment in the field of machinery, factory building and equipment. Households make an investment in addition to housing facilities. And lastly, government also make an investment in the forms of schools, hospitals, roads, canals, etc. Okay. So I repeat again, when we say gross fixed capital formation means increase in investment itself. So when we say gross fixed capital formation, it means the investment or expenditure made by three sectors, that is firms, household, and government. Firms in the form of machinery, factory building and equipment, okay. Then household in the form of addition of housing facilities, that means more construction of houses. And government means expansion in the forms of schools, hospitals, roads, canals, etc. Okay. And next one we have change in stocks. Okay. See, this change in stock is a very important concept, but most of the time the students used to get confused. So today I'm going to make it very simple and make sure that everybody understands. Okay. Now, when we say change in stock means it refers to the stocks that the firms hold. Okay. The stocks that the firms hold. The stocks can be like finished goods, semi-finished goods, raw materials. Why? Because when we say stock means it is any quantity or any variable or anything which is measured at a particular point of time, isn't it? So when we say change in stock means it refers to the stocks that the firms hold, okay? Or we can also say unsold goods or unsold stocks, okay? That is change in stock. Now, to find out change in stock, we have a formula, that is opening stocks minus closing stock, okay? Opening stock minus closing stocks. So here I have an example. You see, Okay, so I repeat again. When we say change in stock means stocks that the firms hold or unsold stocks, okay? Now, stock is anything or any variable measured at a particular point of time. It can be finished goods, semi-finished goods, and raw materials, etc., okay? Now you see, this is the formula for finding change in stock, that is opening stock minus closing stock. Now, when we say opening stock means usually the beginning of our financial year, that is 1st April, and closing stock is usually the ending of our financial year, that is 31st March. Okay, so that means in order to measure anything, we usually take our opening financial year and closing financial year. Okay, so here I brought an example. Say Mr. A is a firm. Okay, he produced goods that were rupees 10,000 on 1st April, and at the end of the financial year, the remaining goods that he sold is rupees 8,000. Okay, so here the difference between opening stock and closing stock is rupees 2,000, isn't it? That means this rupees 2,000 is unsold goods or unsold stocks or change in stocks. Okay, and we have another example. Mr. B. Mr. B purchased 10 machines in the beginning year to make a profit. So that is his opening stock, 10 machines, isn't it? Minus closing stock means at the end of the financial year, the number of machines that he sold is 8 machines. Okay, that will be his closing stock. So the difference between this is 2 machines. This means these 2 machines is his unsold stocks, isn't it? So this is change in stocks. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear now, right? Okay, next and lastly we have net exports. Okay, net export is the difference between exports and imports of a country during a particular time period. Now we know what is exports and imports, isn't it? Export means goods going outside the country. Import means goods coming inside our country. Okay, here there are two things that you have to remember. One is exports are considered as a part of our domestic goods or domestic product. Why? Because these exports are expenditure made by foreigners. Okay, then you also have to remember, while measuring national income, we also include the expenditure made by foreigners on our export goods. Why? Because our goods and services are not only consumed by us, but it is also by the rest of the world. Okay, so which means when a foreigner buy goods, then they will have to pay the money, and that money will come back to our national income. Therefore, net export is also a part of our domestic incomes. Okay, so once again, there are 5 components of private final consumption expenditure. Number 1 is we have private final consumption expenditure, which is represented by C, and it refers to the expenditure made by households and non-profit institutions on goods and services. Okay, then next we have government final consumption expenditure. It refers to expenditure made by government for the public, for the welfare of people in the field of health, education, defense, military, etc. Then we have gross fixed capital formation. It refers to increase in investment by 3 sectors, that is household, firms, and government, isn't it? Firms in addition to machinery, factory, building equipment. Then household make investment in addition of housing facilities. And lastly we have government in the form of schools, hospital, roads, canals. And we have change in stock, which is the stocks that the firms hold or unsold goods. It is the difference between stocks in the beginning and in the end year. So I have given an example that Mr. A bought goods that worth of rupees 10,000 to sell it, to make it profit, and at the end he sold it around rupees 8,000. So the difference between opening stock minus closing stock is rupees 2,000. So that rupees 2,000 is his unsold goods or unsold stocks or change in stocks. Okay, and lastly we have net export. That is the difference between exports and import of a country during a particular time period. And here you have to remember, export is a part of our domestic income because exports are the expenditure made by foreigners on our domestically produced goods. Okay, so I hope that is clear, right? Thank you.